like you were in a glass hotel. It seems like there was someone else as well.
Oh,
Seems like.
Let's see. So, yep. That you are done as a podcaster. That's it. That's all there is to it. Literally, that's all there is to it.
Just riffing
Yep.
on today's events.
But
The other event that we haven't gotten to yet is a discussion of The Glass Hotel, which is a novel by Emily St. John Mandel.
Wow. So, yep, we're gonna just blow past how the banter was conducted, and then amazingly the segue was executed into the topic at hand.
You're in the presence of genius. I said we talk about today's events, but one more event is to discuss the today's book on the podcast,
Wow,
which is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel.
This is like
Try to keep up, Joe.
This is like sending a kindergartner to school, and then just like a year later they come back with a
Harvard degree.
Yeah, Harvard degree. Yeah, I'm flabbergasted.
Gobsmacked.
Yeah, so I picked this one, and I didn't know anything about it other than the writer wrote the book to a HBO series I watched, which was pretty I don't know,
Good.
haunting, and it was called Station 11. And did you watch that? It sounded like you watched it.
I certainly did. I watched it twice, and I read the book twice.
Oh, what the heck?
Because I read the book. Well, Anna did a play with ACT called Mr. Burns, and it was about, eventual dysfunctional Armageddon dystopia, post-apocalyptic dystopia. And as she was preparing for that play, people in the cast were saying, oh, you should read Station 11, you should read Station 11. So I read it because she mentioned it, and I liked it. And then the HBO series came out, and I watched that, and I really liked it, but they seemed completely different. And I didn't remember certain characters or events being in the forefront of the book that were in the forefront of the miniseries. So I read the book again, and then I watched the series again, and I have to say, I thought this miniseries was genius. I really, really liked it a lot. So once I figured out who Emily St. John Mandel was, that she was not Hilary Mantel, who wrote all the books about Henry VIII's period and Thomas Cromwell, which is also a PBS, in this case, miniseries. I was looking forward to this. It took me a little while to get through it, but I did finish it.
Whoa, yeah, that Station 11 was like, it's HBO, so you just have to, you're gonna stick to the end. And, but there have been other ones that the other HBO series I've watched that I did stick through, and it's, okay, that there wasn't really a payoff there, or it was like that kind of, this is like too lofty. And so I kind of felt that with the HBO series, but then like the ending was just like, which I won't spoil, was like, where, the ending was really worthwhile, just from all the adventures and crises that happens. And so in this book too was, okay, what am I talking about? So yeah, this book is also crazy with lots of different characters that are they're not intertwined, they're like in orbit.
They're not exactly intertwined, but they do intersect. I struggled with that word as well. And I think that what we have here are a lot of intersections, not necessarily intertwinings, because people meet and then they separate from each other.
Yeah, it was weird. They're human connections, and they're not interdependent at all. They're not intertwined, but they are like linked from not strong emotions or strong experiences, but from just passing mentions, passing messages that seem insignificant at the time, but then later the impact comes like much later. And that was kind of funny how it would be interesting to imagine, like, normal humans who aren't characters, where we're all sorting through our experiences and rationalizing and reasoning out why this is causing this behavior. But this book was like, no, that one thing that happened, that's coming back to you right now. and they don't know it, but we kind of cleverly scratch our chins. Oh, this book is doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah. Oh, that right there, that's them.
Oh, that's
well, I think that this was about so the title, The Glass Hotel, this is where a lot of people come in contact with one central character, Jonathan Alcides. But it's not necessarily significant in any other way. And Jonathan Alcides may be the central figure, but he doesn't seem to be the main figure. There doesn't seem to be a main character in the book at all. But he is the central character. Lots of people come in contact with him, and they come in contact with him through various, sometimes for slightly different reasons, but primarily because he conducts a Ponzi scheme in and around 2008. And 2008, of course, was the crisis, of financial crisis in the United States, which led to the housing crisis, which led to, people being underwater with their homes all over the place. It was horrible. And so even though it's coincidentally happening at the same time, it's not really connected to the real financial crisis of the time, but these two things just sort of happened at the same time, this Ponzi scheme and the financial crisis in the United States. And all the characters in the book sort of come in contact with him in and around this glass hotel, even though it is remote, Canadian, not outstanding in any other way, just happens to be the place where a lot of characters come in contact with Jonathan Alcides. Was that your take? That was my take. I couldn't figure out the title otherwise.
Yeah, the Glass Hotel. So there's what's going on here. So yeah, the story is oddly like symmetrical, I think, where kind of the chapters will have different characters be the main of each chapter, and then within the chapter will be random segments. We'll just be like, and part 1 of this chapter, or 2, and it's like, okay, why is this even being broken up? And also the chapters will have dates. It'll like launch forward 5 years, and then meanwhile, 10 years later with this person. And it starts off with, the first chapter is, someone falling off of a boat and into the water, and it's like chaotically describes, everything's flashing by, the water hits, what the hell's going on? Chapter 2. and then you're introduced to your first character, who is Paul, this musician who you're told, he's addicted to drugs, and he's a musician, and he has hardship, and he's failing school. So now I'm thinking, okay, this is a book about, don't complain about your life, because this guy has it worse. Or whatever you think you got, this guy has it worse.
Yeah.
and then he has it even worse, where he's a musician. He goes to a club and he tries to buy drugs, and I guess he does them, and he has a really bad trip, but he whatever figures it's, I don't know, something. So then he finds some friends who are also musicians, and he slides them the drugs, and then they die, and then
one of them, he ends up killing one of them. Yeah,
the drugs are bad. He's survived, and then again the chapter is segmented into police interviews or something, and he's whatever. So you're already chapter 2. You're like, what is going on? But I was, from the HBO show, it was confusing there as it slips forward in time, back in time, memory, all these things. So then he's in like Toronto or a major city, and then escapes back to the countryside where this hotel is, I guess, right? And that's where his sister works. Yes,
he goes to, he's plagued by a couple of things. He's composer, musician. He doesn't fit in anywhere he goes. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that his father left his mother for a young poet, started a new family, and had another child. And so he was raised primarily by his mother. And so he's always had this trauma in the back, at the beginning of his life, or at a very formative time of his life. And he doesn't know how he fits in, especially in terms of his relationship with this half-sister whose name is Vincent. And her mother was a poet and named her for Edna St. Vincent Millay. I could think of better ways to call her than Vincent. But, of course, that stands out. And so he's never been sure of what his relationship is supposed to be, how he's supposed to be in relation with this half-sister. He doesn't exactly hate the sister, but he just sort of resents the fact that she exists because she's the personification of his father leaving his mother and him. And so he's just kind of lost in space. And I thought, okay, well, maybe we're going to see this story of how he's going to come to terms with things and straighten up and fly right or something. But no, no. So this is the only word I can think of to describe this book, 2 words actually. One is kaleidoscope. And so I think the characters in the book are kind of like a kaleidoscope, and every time you shift period or shift location, then the colors rearrange themselves, and different colors are intact or in touch with other colors, just as the characters are in touch with other characters. But this book has a lot of red herrings that we think might go somewhere, and they don't. Relationships that the characters have that get a little bit of depth going, but then so-and-so got sick and died, and she never saw him again. Or then they ran into each other 20 years later, and she pretended she didn't recognize her. Or they're just kind of like red herrings. And, this idea... Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking, there's characters with different like depths or interests, or maybe you measure their gravitas of like, okay, this, so you kind of prioritize who's the most important. And so, but Paul he is really trying to escape, like difficulty. And when he thinks he's on track, he gets hit with now he has like a negligent death, or he's related to a death that it's a secret only he knows. He just has to live with that for the rest of his life, and then literally leaves town and goes back to his hometown, which is now the second worst place he wants to be, now that where he was is now the worst. And then he's got his sister, who's kind of like we don't really know. She gets a lot of time in the book, but her background is she's just kind of she has an ability to just charm people and mirror personalities, and that just carries her forward. into, getting jobs and then eventually becoming the acting wife of this Al-Qaeda financier, which is good for her because she just gets unlimited money. And then another person who, when you said red herring, I thought about this person. Yeah, the hotel manager who was a random guy who was the book says, I was in a relationship with my girlfriend for 6 years, and she's like, are you gonna get serious or what? And he's like, I don't know. And then like after a breakup, he decides, oh, maybe I'll move to this remote island and do this hotel. I like nature. And like, that doesn't seem deep, but it was puzzling how the author will give all this detail and just kind of indicate how, like, hey, this guy's got his own motivations. They might not be as grim as Paul or as shallow as Vincent, but he's got a story too, and they're gonna intersect at this hotel. I kind of like that. Yeah. It was because I wanted to say, okay, he doesn't matter, who cares? But when she would insist on describing how he would talk to the other boss, or I think his name was like Larry or something, Larry.
His name was Walter.
Walter, another
Walter.
Forgettable name. Like, Walter decided to wear the striped shirt instead of a plain white. He remembered he has to iron his shirts better. So all these little windows into his thought processes would insist, like, no, this guy's he's good too. Don't forget about him. That's what I thought.
Yeah, but and he finishes the book. But for instance, the other character that I consider a red herring is that Mirella, who was another rich trophy wife married to this guy named Faisal, I guess, and she and Vincent become friends, and they go out together and they recognize what they're doing. They're play acting. They're just doing a role. Everybody in this book is making believe. They're pretending they're stable. They're pretending they're a financier. They're pretending they're not broke. They're pretending that they're a trophy wife. And then Faisal gets sick and dies. And then Mirella and Vincent never, become friends. They're just separated by the fact that one husband died. So that's what I consider red herring. It's sort of like we've got all these characters, you're right, and all these details about all these characters, but ultimately there's no substance. So it reminded me of a Ponzi scheme.
Well,
there's no real investment return here. There's just a lot of numbers on paper.
Well, she was actually Mirella was one of the more sympathetic ones, because I think, you're supposed to think that she, I do see what you mean. This red herring's like, I think, you're supposed to think they're both just, shopping dum-dums, just like whatever, flitting their way through life, just like fluttering around. But Vincent says in a really brief moment, like, oh, but what would it be like to be deeply in love the way Mirella's in love with Faisal? And so that means she's with him. And then also I thought the name was significant, meaning he's some kind of Arab prince or something. She said it's indicated he's royalty, but I think I want to say it's in the book or somewhere else. I heard it maybe at the same time. There's like thousands of princes. They're all related to the
the whole country is royalty. Yeah.
The treasury.
I've heard that too.
So it's kind of sounds like, well, we could never be married. We could never be, it's the custom or tradition. So I thought she was a more tragic, like, bystander, that she is just in love and being there with him, and Vincent was kind of jealous of her, like, oh, I have the kind of same life, but I don't really like this guy, like, really.
I don't have any feelings toward him. No. Yeah.
And then I think it said that Faisal, he killed himself. I thought he committed suicide.
Well, it's one of those forgettable characters. He's got an outstanding name that we should remember, but he doesn't really play a significant part. So that there's no transformative characterization going on here. Even Vincent, we spend, I think, the most time with her. She just, we don't want to, do we want to spoil the ending of the book? She's the one that falls off the ship at the end. And so what? So what is the sum of her life? There's no resolution. There's just ending going on of all the characters in this book. So I think my bottom line is I enjoyed the writing. I think the writing was very interesting, but it didn't lead anywhere, and I mean anywhere. And I felt I finished the book really unsatisfied. What is my takeaway? Is the takeaway just that, yeah, we're all just ships passing in the night and people have their own backstories, and, just be kind to each other because you'll only know each other for, 15 minutes and then you'll go on your own way? I don't think I like the message if that's it.
I like it. I think I don't know. I think it's super important. And yeah, I have here, it says that, yeah, Faisal killed himself. And so, but yeah, there's so much like fog because, yeah, another, climactic point in the book, like the ending of, Station 11, was when Vincent sees Mirella again. Their lives are over. She's a bartender again, and she's like filled with like, oh my God, what's she gonna say? What am I gonna say? What can I say? What do you say? And in the end, Mirella just says like, oh, hello, random person. Thank you for the drink. And Vincent, who's so adept at sensing people and, charming them and she can't tell. It's like, does she really not remember me, or does she? Wait, that's impossible. She just must blame me so deeply. But how could she? She's confused for like she's getting kind of scammed. So she's so overwhelmed so that too, not as bad as Paul, but she's like, well, I have to live with this now. I kind of contributed, or I was there, but in the end, she blames me, or I am to blame, and it's just an impossible thing. Similar to although Paul's is kind of, he just, I have drugs if you want it. Drugs are bad. You're gonna trust a random guy who's gonna give you drugs. You might die. Was it his fault? Not. I mean, I don't know. No.
Well, he had his little interlude before, and woke up, after who knows how much time. He knew he had this blackout or something because of these drugs, and yet he gave them to him. And the consequence, this denial of consequences throughout the book, the guy died, taking those drugs, and Paul ran away so he wouldn't get enmeshed in any kind of blame.
Right.
The only one that suffers any consequences is this Al-Qaeda who goes to jail, and of course his entire staff who was involved in this Ponzi scheme. But even in jail, he spends more time, toward the end of the book, more time in what he terms the counter life, which is memory and hallucination combined. Is there any real consequence going on there? I don't know. Do I want him to suffer? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe the theme is kind of clarity, because he, like the first thing when police investigate, they say, of course, Paul is like, I gave him the drugs, he died, it's my fault. But police go like, okay, what else did he have? What did he do before? What did he do after? Did you notice him this? And so, but we just take that he's dead and it's done. And even like the Faisal, like, he killed himself. You might think the money was lost. He was killed, just like maybe Faisal was the investor over there. And all investors do is they just put their money forward on other blackjack tables, and then when the music stops, as much as someone wants to kill Al-Qaeda, maybe someone killed Faisal. So it's all like nebulous. That so anyway, I thought the thing is, like, I thought that the main point of the book was when let's see, we're gonna flash forward to a guy who happened to be at the hotel at the same time, was this logistics and shipping vice president of a company, very diligent and good at his job, loves his job, and he's laid off. I'm not sure if it's because of the crash, but he's just too old and his salary's too high, and younger people can do it. Yeah, so he's cut. And then what's the more his humiliation is really presented over and over again, because his assistant now has his job and he's hired on randomly as consultant, which is just kind of throwing scraps to an expert who so he keeps saying that. He walks away from his mortgage with his wife, leaves the house, abandons it, buys an RV, and just starts rumbling around and doing jobs like working at a hotel or something.
In Nomadland.
That's right.
That's where they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
that's Leon.
Right. Yeah, this chapter's better than that whole Nomad book. That was just like I became.
It was interesting.
Yeah. So
his life, I think Leon's life is like the most prosaic, the most ordinary. That he reaches the age of 56, he gets, as a result of a merger, he gets squeezed out of his job, and he had invested all of his retirement or 401k or whatever it was that he had in this Ponzi scheme that Al-Qaeda happened to mention to him in the hotel. And of course you never invest everything you have ever in one person, but he did. So yeah, let the buyer beware is an important aspect of this whole thing. But I felt really bad for Leon, because he just was sort of a victim of circumstances, and he was a good guy, and his wife stuck with him. That's good. And he kept looking out at their life and saying, could be worse. We've got this nice RV. We earn money probably through Amazon warehouse work, and then go stay in the desert. And he was pretty happy considering. But he gets really truth told by this investigator for the shipping company. Leon is just a witness to the true investigation done by an ex NYPD guy who gives him a little dose of truth at the end, and says, we don't know what happened, and this is how it's going to go, and I'll give you a recommendation, don't worry.
Yeah. That I thought was the key to the whole, not the most dramatic part, but yeah, that was it. Like, look, nobody knows anything. That's what hits me.
Right.
When I, because this has been conflated so many times in my mind that I use it for teaching. I tell my students, like, your parents taught you Japanese. My parents taught me English. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how they did it, but they did it. And teachers and professors and PhDs and researchers, they don't know how to do it. Nobody knows what they're doing. And when I was a banker, the biggest comment that would always get laughs on these videos or talks would be like, look, I've been in this business for 50 years, and the only thing I know is nobody knows anything. All right. And then even like, Socrates says that the only thing I know is I don't know anything. That's the only thing I know for sure is I don't know. And so yeah, when that investigator said that, he's like, look, there's no jurisdiction. The ship is property of Panama. The worker Vincent fell into the water off of Mauritius. The boat is already in Amsterdam, and she fell in international waters where there's no law there anyway. So this is it. We just want to find out what happened, and so that we're covered if in the remote chance something else happens, we can say we did a report and we found there to be no foul play. And so, but So they do catch a whiff of foul play where a guy who had allegedly hit another woman, but that person even doesn't really remember and doesn't want to testify or whatever. And that guy is gone. He has run away, much like Paul, who felt the heat around the corner, so just jumped the ship. And Leon, who is righteous and sees a non-resolutioner, he goes like, no, we should say something. That's what our job is, right? And he goes like, our job is to, work and survive. So the company doesn't want it. Nobody wants it. Somebody cares, but we shouldn't care. So we're going to say it was misfortune. And you were a good partner.
Accidental death, yeah.
And so that was where...
and I'll give you a...
And yeah, that's what the police loops back to that drug thing. It's like, yeah, nobody really knows. We can't know inside of people's minds. And so I'm talking a long time, but this is where even I read this book and I watched a movie that I had remembered a singular line that triggered something, much like this book is all about. A passing mention embeds in your brain and you carry that around. So I watched that movie Michael Clayton with George Clooney. Do you remember? And I watched that a long time ago. Yeah, it was kind of
the Irish thing.
No, it was about lawyers in New York, and there's a scandal.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it. Okay, go ahead.
It's about lawyer. George Clooney's a lawyer, and he has to clean up these messes, and you're protecting from liability, all these things. Anyway, the top lawyer has mental issues and goes off his medications and kind of goes, they can't control him, and it's in the midst of a big litigation with like a drug company or something. So they call on George Clooney, like, get him under control. He's our main person. If he starts going apeshit, then the whole case is gonna blow up. So anyway. So that top lawyer, he's dead. He gets killed, and by other people, and then George Clooney's like, I can't believe it. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he leave a note? Why would he kill himself? And another lawyer says, what do you mean why? Nobody knows why. You think people? You think you can comprehend people? They're people. They're incomprehensible. Look, anyway, good work. We got to go forward. And so the audience and George Clooney are stuck on the human aspect, but the other lawyer's like, what are you talking about? This happened. It's horrible. You can't waste your time trying to comprehend even one person. It's impossible. So anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. He puts his jacket on. and yeah, that was such a blunt comment that I was like, geez, or so cold that then it struck me again when this police guy said that to him. Look, nobody knows anything. What you got to do is help yourself if you can, and that's what we're gonna do. Because I'm the boss. I'm the head. So anyway, I thought that literally the book, a mention in the book triggered a mention from a movie. So I became a character in the book where one line time traveled me to the past.
You have synthesized. So maybe it is about that. As another author who does something kind of similar as far as the interconnection of all these characters is Kate Atkinson. But she writes mysteries. And at the end of the book, with all these different characters interacting and touching each other's lives, what we get at the end of that book is resolution. We get, he solves the mystery because he discovered how the people are interconnected and what that interconnection led to. But at the end of this book, we just have, this person dying, another person living in a fantasy world, another person going back into rehab, and there's no resolution. And so maybe that's my problem with the book, and that, because what we're all asking in life is, why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? And this book says there is no purpose.
Yeah. Right.
You're killing me.
Yeah. Like, well, like it's so everything is nebulous and we don't know. And I like how the writer just will in detail give these facial expressions or internal little inner comments. Like I usually hate it when a show or book will have a lengthy paragraph about, like, oh, he looked at his shoes. They were dirty. I wonder when he cleaned them last. Maybe like internal commentary about things. But this book, they did it very, very quickly. The FBI asked the banker, how long have you worked here? Italics. I want to jump out the window right now. Oh, about 10 years. And like, so a really short asides that would, reveal their thoughts, but not too much.
And part of the reason why they weren't long and prolonged because there were so many characters. I did like the writing. Like in the early chapters, I liked the where she's talking about Paul, and she said the century was ending. This was 1999, and everybody was worried about Y2K. That the world was going to come to an end because the computers couldn't go to year 2000. The century was ending, and he had some complaints talking about Paul. I thought that was a great line, and also that, Paul made me think of you because you were a music major also, and he was studying finance. However, he found finance fatally uninteresting.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That was a great line. That was an awesome line. I loved that. But the fact, I love the writing. I thought was really good. I think I just didn't like the randomness of the microscopic connections of people. They're not really connections. They're just tangentially touch each other's lives briefly, even if it's for a long period of time. There's no depth, and then it all ended, badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have nothing to say.
I thought maybe another thing I thought is I'm thinking now is how the characters kind of stack, where their own conclusions are just mystifying, and as you look back, like, well, should I have done this, or is it because of this? And like Paul, in the end, he becomes a successful musician or composer, kind of an avant-garde video artist or something. And he is, when he worked at the hotel, there was a graffiti that's like the core of this whole book is this message on a glass window that says, you should just go eat glass. And you're like, okay, that's not good. And it doesn't really say how big it is. I assume it's like a small little message because they try to cover it with a plant. But I'm like, that's not that bad. Like, what's the big deal? I mean, everyone is like traumatized by this thing. Oh my God, that's horrible. And so it's revealed that Paul's the one who did it, even though we're led to believe it was Vincent, because Paul keeps referencing how she did graffiti one time, but it was more of a thing, like it was called like "Sweep Me Up, Sweep Me Into the Air," like a more of a lyrical thing, but still graffiti when she was a kid. So we're kind of supposed to think, oh, yep, she did it. Of course, graffiti's graffiti. But actually, it was Paul, and he was put up to it by a financial investigator, who was looking into Al-Qaeda, and it turns out she's actually rich. She has like an endowment who was prospected to invest in Al-Qaeda, but she smartly said no thank you, and now she's a part-time investigator. Like, how do you make this 45-degree angle of returns every year? So I think we're supposed to believe
true.
I think we're supposed to believe she kind of helped him. Didn't she introduce Paul to some music thing, or like, oh, you should do music here? And it was kind of like through that favor of doing the graffiti, he got this as payback. I thought, like, that's what I thought.
I don't think so. I think that she puts him up to it, but she puts him up to writing with acid paste. I mean, have you ever heard of acid paste before? No. But he writes with acid paste on the outside of the window in reverse letters, "Why don't you swallow broken glass?" And it's such a peculiar phrase, and everybody is totally upset about it, which I attributed to the fact that it was in Canada, not the United States, and they're just more sensitive. But Ella, we find out in like the final chapters that Ella was at that hotel at the same time that Jonathan Alcides and Leon were there at the same, and Paul and Vincent were there. And yeah, they were all there at the same time. And she put Paul up to do it. And he did it, intending Alcides to see it. Right. He never saw it. Leon saw it. And then Walter, the night manager, covers it up. So Alcides, the intended victim, never sees it. Paul gets fired because Walter knows that he's the one that did it. He never exactly admits it, but he does portray guilt. And then Paul, years later, after he's successful, I think, meets Ella. And Ella apologizes for having him do that because she said, "I was drunk and I shouldn't have put that on you. You were just a young man." But where does the phrase come from? The phrase comes from Alcides and his wife, who died of cancer, are in their favorite restaurant. And who's sitting at the table as they exit? Ella Kapersky. And she says, "You are beneath my contempt." And his wife says to her, "Why don't you just, a busboy breaks a glass." And she picks up a piece of broken glass, Leon's wife, Alcides' wife, drops it in Ella's glass and says, "Why don't you just swallow broken glass?" and leaves. And that was so random. And we don't have any other personality about Suzanne except that Jonathan loved her and she died of cancer. It's so peculiar.
Well,
and then she wants to pay back Alcides.
Ella was, at the time, like slandering him, hurting.
Not slandering him. She was telling the truth about him.
Yeah, but it wasn't. There was no. She didn't. I mean, yeah, she was right all along, but she couldn't prove it. Mm-hmm. And that's no. I mean, that's a failing.
Well, and she did. She called the SEC, but they dropped it for whatever reason.
Yeah, so it's a failing of an entire, government. That but the wife, I think she's like, "No, that's not true. Yeah, you're wrong. And look at you. I mean, look at you. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing? You should just eat this glass." Which even that was. I thought maybe that even was a demonstration of this writer. Where am I saying I want to kill you? I'm saying no. I'm saying you should just kill yourself. And it is a hostile gesture, but it's like, hey, here's glass. You should just do this. And I'm not putting it in your face. I'm saying putting it in your drink, that's like the line crossing, is that it's in this glass. Now, if you drank it, it's your fault. But it was a really crazy. Just like the drugs, like, hey, you want drugs? If you say yes, it's your fault. If you take them, it's your fault. Is it my fault? If I hadn't been there, you would be alive. If I hadn't given it to you, you'd be alive. If I hadn't offered it, you'd be alive. But you took it. So it's this whole nebulous. How hostile is that? And Ella wants kind of revenge, or something. And I guess she's drunk. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah. She says send a message, but yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even see it.
I don't know. And he doesn't even see it. And that is, and also the glass hotel, glass is supposed to be transparent, and this whole thing is so murky. And I thought maybe water's going to be a big symbol here, and this island, and Vincent's mother disappeared in the canoe, and water's going to be, no, but except that she dies in water. And then the ending we find out, was it murder of Vincent over the side of the boat? Was it bad weather? What was it? It was Vincent thinking she sees yet another character that we haven't talked about, Olivia Collins, who's dead. And she reaches over to take a picture. She drops her camera, reaches for it, and falls into the ocean. And then she's reunited with her mother on the island, and that's her happy place. You know, at the ending full of ghosts and things like that. I hate magical realism, and I thought that was kind of a cop-out also.
Yeah, I think that was a comment on how, like, yeah, it is too incomprehensible. So we grasp for, well, I mean, it's got to be just a miracle. I mean, we can't figure it out.
She must have seen a ghost.
I mean, it must be it has to be murder, right? I mean, yeah, right. It's just people, yeah, they grasp for the hard result. And it's like, maybe, but not necessarily. Come on, don't give me that double talk. I'm saying, yeah, it could
it's
be.
It's a book. We know it's got to be murder.
Yeah. So, and that is maybe the, that's it. Like, yeah, everything is random, and you're lucky to know the little that you do know, but you'll never know everything. And it's just, but you have to. Like you have to resist the temptation towards absolute truth, maybe, because everybody was suckered into to Jonathan's fund.
Or even yes, yeah. Or like, maybe there is no truth, or forming long-standing, meaningful relationships. Also, geez, that's pretty grim.
Yeah, and there were, like these people are. Yeah, floating along with, so many things to comprehend. Some people that are held up as clear-seeing people are the violin player of the band that had taken the drugs. The violin player was like a real musician that Paul just wants to date, or he likes her, and the other band member dies. But later, totally unrelated, Vincent talks to a music producer in LA and says there was this one band that was really good, especially the violin player. She was really going to be something. And I said, you got to come with me, sign the papers, make the songs, do the makeup. You're going to be a superstar. And she said, no, I don't want that. I do this. And so I think that shows how, like, yeah, she wasn't sucked into the hype. And she's like, no, my view is over here. And then also Olivia was an artist who was in a relationship with Jonathan's older brother, who was an artist. And he struggled, as it is, but his struggle was with the painting. Like, this I have to paint. And Jonathan, Olivia's a painter too, and Jonathan buys a painting of his brother. And I thought that character
that Olivia did.
Yeah, the brother was also held up as like, he struggled, but it was with...
He was a drug addict, and her painting revealed that to the family. They didn't know, but she painted him in such a way that his drug addiction was revealed. They could see then on his arms the needle marks or something. And then he died soon after.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, so people are presented in art as ghosts, in even in real form. Like, I am this guy's wife. I mean, look at me. I probably am, right? I mean, he says I am, and you just take things as they are. But when they're not that, it's really not that outrageous. It's like, I see. Anyway,
well,
I thought,
because
or go ahead.
Because everybody's playing a role. Yeah, maybe.
I thought, it's just
an
exercise in orbiting characters who are trying to be something. I don't know.
Trying to be what they're not, and pretending. Playing a role through life. Yeah, they all did that. Paul did that, pretending he was stable, pretending he wasn't taking drugs, or pretending he was, cooler than he thought he was. Vincent did that, pretending she's this trophy wife. Leon did that, pretending he's still, an important consultant for this shipping firm, even though he's just window dressing. And of course, Al-Qaeda did it, presenting himself as a financier. He's not. He's just a Ponzi, just a con man. It's pretty. I enjoyed the writing, but it's a pretty dreary aspect. And with Station 11, I think what you have is this cataclysmic event of the virus that is the cause of people losing touch with each other or being forced into relationships with each other. And so there's something, concrete, if you will, that causes all of this stuff to happen. But there's nothing like that in this book. It's just randomness and, happening to go to New York City or happening to be in Toronto. And, and if you remember in Station 11, the little girl gets abandoned, and it's because the guy who was taking care of her what happened? He got attacked or broke his leg or something, and they found him and took him away. And then she was on her own at like age 12. It wasn't anybody's fault. She was a victim of circumstances.
Yeah.
But these are like, the circumstances are not clear. There's nothing to blame for all of these things. Like you said, if I can offer you the drugs, but if you take them, it's your fault.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's, I guess, what I don't like about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, there's kind of the virus, or a book where there's like a car crash or something. That I'm not a scientist, so I can't understand the virus, or I could never drive drunk, so I could never. That person's just horrible. He killed my blah blah, and then now I carry this. But other things that are like, well, I was involved, and I want to be angry, but everything. It's totally not as. The good version, I guess, is like Deus Ex Machina, where a god comes down and makes everything good. The virus is where some God makes everything bad. But this is ones where, like, no, you had a part too. You agreed to take the drugs. You agreed to,
sell falsify the dates and sell the Ponzi scheme. And and you're a part of this.
And the most nebulous one, I think, is Vincent and Morella, because I was there. I was just his wife. I didn't do it myself. But it's so, the magnitude of it that just rocks the earth. It's like, you were next to him. You were involved. Yeah, but I didn't know about it. It's like, don't even talk to me. and even she's like, yeah, you're so that's the most just incomprehensible one. But she knows, like, oh, I gotta get out of here.
Just reinvent myself.
Yeah. Another funny thing was how I thought, everybody hates bankers, and Jonathan's opulence and luxury is constantly shown. Bankers are just pushing paper around, typing buttons. This million gets from here to there, and papers, who cares? We'll make them later. But then Leon, the kind of his career seen as more righteous and more tangible, but he is kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, this ship goes there, brings X from country blah, and brings them to there. It's the kind of the same role. He's not on a ship. He's not loading boxes. He's literally just making reports and deciding, okay, yep, this ship has nothing there. We're going to dock it in Singapore for a while and save money this, and in the end, hopefully the costs are less than the shipping fees. And so kind of true. His company too. If those nations are like, what are we going to do with all these Walmart shoes? Hey, Walter's company, what the hell happened? We don't know, but that is all done, and your economy is screwed. Sorry. Like, they go, what? We made all these things because you said we're gonna send them out. It's like, yeah, that's all.
Hey,
That's all canceled.
It's business.
Yeah, and we can't
It's
pay you
business.
back. Yeah, so it is the same kind of thing. It is definitely a parallel industry, logistics and shipping, and it's just money flowing from here to there for now, and then items or ships going here to there for now, and timing, and having your clients have confidence, like, yeah, we will pay you when it gets there or whatever within. And so even, yeah, Leon also, that's the other, I thought that's ironic how he got charmed and sucked into Jonathan's, wizardry, but he's the same thing. He's in the same industry about timing and but even he couldn't. Yeah, but he should have known when global meltdowns happen, business stops and costs go way up and sales stop. So yeah, Leon should have known, okay, it's been about 10 years since the bubble burst, so we're due for, as a banker, that we're due for another shock. So why would I totally shift my retirement into this random guy when we're definitely due for a economic downturn? They seem nice guy. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, so Leon, you're kind of dumber than he's the dumbest of them all. I think.
That's part of what I mean by prosaic. He was taken in. Yeah, he's just a working stiff sort of thing. Just happen to have a high salary and happen to buy an RV before they walk out of their house.
It'd be like, Papa just ready to retire, almost done, and someone approaches him like, hey, how about you give me all your money. We'll go half and half into a website. And, business is booming. Everyone's making money. Let's do it. And he's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. It'd be kind of unthinkable. You're like, no, I'm definitely not going to do that. So.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Yeah. And Glass House or Glass Hotel, I'm looking for something there. And, of course, it's temporary. It's temporary housing. And people come and go, just like in life, in this story, people come and go. Transparent, but everything is very, very murky. It's also isolated. So even though it's a place where people come and go, it's in an island, and it's very isolated and close to nature. And that's why Walter enjoys it. Even though he's been a hotelier all his life, he stays on at the hotel after it closes, and he loves it. He loves living in the hotel all by himself. He can walk into town, the small town. So there's a lot going on here. And I think that it is ultimately, for me, unsatisfying that there's no resolution. I know I'm getting older, and I know that when I die, I'm just going to be dead and everybody's going to carry on. But I hate to think of it in these terms, that we don't make a dent in people's lives, that we just come and go in and out of each other's lives. And if it doesn't work out there, then we reinvent ourselves, or somebody forgets that you even existed. And I think it's a pretty sad state of affairs.
I see it as funny. I don't know. That's just, we're all over. I grew up with the internet. We got social media. Everyone is just like screaming about war and environment. And, but yeah, there's a certain feeling of like, yeah, I want to be involved. I want to be included. I should do something, but the scale of how enormous things are and also how insignificant you are, it's just like, yeah, you can't do anything. Like the best, what you should do is read
Nobody
this
knows
book.
Anything.
Yeah, you should read this book and stop and realize how insignificant you are, and then you can start, I don't know, be more effective once you have more of a lightness and more clear version of yourself, maybe.
Or shoot yourself.
Yeah, or fall off a boat.
One or the other.
So
I think I might watch Station 11 again tonight. it's still on.
Yeah, it was that was such a I even watched a little interview of the writer. Her name is Emily St. John Mandel, and I thought that's kind of even the name I'm puzzled because St. John sounds like a Christian name, but Mandel is I think is a Jewish name or maybe a German
I think it's
German
a Jewish name.
So even the name is kind of both in there. I think she's my age. She's like maybe 43 or something. But
she's young.
Yeah. Yeah. So she talked about, she said Station 11 was a easier book to write. It's just this happens. Now, how do we all deal with it? She said this book was very strange because I didn't really know what was going on. And I enjoyed researching the Madoff people and
financial thing.
a gang.
Bernie Madoff. Yeah.
And so, yes, a lot of her time is spent with those people because I think she enjoyed the research of it. But I didn't. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't care about these people. Although one thing was interesting was, so of course, Jonathan, he's a prisoner in prison for over like 500 years. And also he's a prisoner of his own mind because he's slipping into, we don't know. Is it Alzheimer's? Is it hallucination? Is it willful disassociation? And then another banker he has is Enrico, who flees the country. He goes to Mexico, finds a relative's passport who looks like him, and says, "Yeah, I'm this guy now." And so, but he's also a prisoner because he's always looking out the window that the FBI is on his tail, which that sounds horrible. Yeah. You're just paranoid out of your mind for the rest of your life.
Yeah. He escaped, but not really. And Jonathan didn't escape, but he really did because he just goes into this counter life all the time, and just that's taking up more and more of his time. He thinks. It's there's just a lot going on, and I didn't quite understand why she positioned the Ponzi scheme to occur at the same time as the financial meltdown, 2008, and why not disassociate it from that time or associate it more with Y2K or I don't know. I couldn't, the time discrepancy, not discrepancies, but the moving around in different times with different characters, I found pretty disconcerting. And there was not one single character that we could truly follow through this life that could be the focus of our primary attention, intersecting with all these others. But maybe she thinks that's already been done. It's been done before, and this is something entirely different.
I kind of thought it was Vincent. She was the main character. And also I thought, she makes it through. So you're kind of expecting more comments like, oh, she's so beautiful, or oh, she's so wearing this and her hair is this. But no, like not really at all. You just say, yeah, Vincent, she's got a boy's name. She's got a boy's name and she is a girl. That's it. And people like her, especially this super rich person. And but she has a clarity too. I forgot about that. So the artist has a clarity, the violin player has a clarity, and also Vincent, she just likes taking these video logs of like 5 minutes of this, and nobody can understand it. Like, why would you do that? And she just like, I just take it. I got tons of tapes. My mother gave me this video camera, or my grandmother, and it's awesome. And that was her thing. And then I don't know what this means, but Paul maybe jealously steals them and uses them for his art, his music, and she's shocked because how could you do that? And he rationalizes like, well, you weren't going to use them anyway. What even are they? So he, pinches.
And I don't think she's too shocked. I think she says, well, she did leave them. She left them in the house and she abandoned them. So, okay, it's okay for somebody else to pick it up. Yeah.
So,
but I didn't think about the artist connection, how the artists see clearly, the painter and the musician and the videographer.
I thought that all this real life tangible money, this much we have to get, this much I lost. But that's valid, that's legitimate, living your life. But the artist is seen as like, oh, that's kind of, playtime, or that's childhood, or who has time for that, or only geniuses can understand it. I don't know. But like, no, just doing the thing is enough to, this is real. This I'm doing. Everything else with other people involved, other whatever, is just incomprehensible. But this is me versus this painting, or me versus this music. I'm the one. And even that's difficult enough to understand, like, yourself. So, and Vincent's videos is never explained. And then, you reminded me, she falls off as she's making a video. So maybe that's I don't know.
And she's her best work of art also, because she's adaptable to whatever situation she's in, and welcomes her brother when he comes and visits her in Brooklyn, and plays the trophy wife for Jonathan perfectly fine, and then falls into a relationship, so to speak, with Jeffrey on the ship, and loves being a junior cook on the ship. She is adaptable, and just takes advantage of every moment. And she's her primary work of art, it seemed to me.
Yep. So this one I want to read again. I want to get her other books. And even this one, I thought if I was going to write a book, I would want to study this one. Like maybe like 3 characters, and just I want to do something like that, where they interact with each other.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Something remembers something. And
oh, okay. Well, the other books she's written are Last Night in Montreal, The Lola Quartet, The Singer's Gun, and Station 11, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
okay, good one.
Say, yeah,
interesting.
I like
and it was a quick read.
Yeah. I was I was going through it. So and also, to relate it to that last book, the Underground Railroad, you read that, you can kind of take comfort in, like, this is significant, this is historical, it's topical, it's relevant, I'm learning something, right? This is like, who are these people? Why do I care? What is it? So you kind of have to lean into it. I was finding the last book, you kind of lean back, like, yep, I'm consuming I'm consuming this, and I think you're right. And I think you did have to lean into this and say, well, let's see if maybe this is going to go somewhere. Maybe this character is going to go somewhere. And I did lean in because I enjoyed the writing. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I want to do this. That was like, even the other ones, that's what it was. I was leaning away in the beginning of the Colson Whitehead one, because I'm like, okay, enough of the, like, oh, that fire hydrant back in 1962, I remember it was painted red, and then after all the years, now it's pink. Like, okay, why? Who cares? Why are you? Who cares?
But you don't mind.
No.
But you didn't mind it in this book.
No, it's just more.
Maybe it's the writing.
It's just more skillful. Yeah, this person is way better, and the other person is just timely and pop. It's just genre crossing pop history.
The other guy has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes.
Yeah, well, that's meaningless. Like.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we have that clarified.
Yeah.
Well, this Station 11 did do the Booker Award or something. Finalist for the National Book Award and Penn Faulkner Award. Well, Faulkner, we know she must be good.
If HBO picks you for a seat for a show, that's the biggest award of all time.
Maybe. But again, I want you to read the book and then watch the series and then do it again, because I'll tell you what, I got caught up in the book And I got caught up in the series. And so even though they were very different, and I'm sure they're different, I couldn't tell you where exactly they were different or how one diverged from the other and why the writer focused on this and the person that made the series focused on that, because I got engaged by both. So that's a testament also to, miniseries writers who find something different to pull out of this.
That was another.
I
remember now that one too had that main actor who was the most charismatic, who everyone was in orbit of him, but he in the first chapter he dies like on the stage of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody is just like, and that link kind of comes back later through his Shakespeare play, and I want to read that. I gotta get that.
Well, also with that one, the Station 11 is the comic book or but we're never really given a good understanding of that comic book story, and yet it's just crucial to the life of the young woman. Maybe we should do Station 11 next time, but it's crucial, but we don't have a clear understanding of it. The same way that the Glass Hotel is crucial to all of these lives, but we don't really understand it perfectly. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, we've talked this one to death, so let's see what
we did talk this one to death. Okay.
Anything next?
So what's next? All right. So I'm going to give you the option. We can read Station 11 next if you want to. That might be interesting to discuss different books by the same author. And we can certainly watch the miniseries. Or I wrote down 4 books that were, big and important in 2022, I think. And the one that's most interesting to me is called We Don't Know Ourselves by Fintan O'Toole. And it's about the Irish. And I'm not sure if it's fiction or nonfiction. I can't remember, but I think it's nonfiction. But I think it's seen through his own life. What's going on with Ireland.
I choose that one solely because our neighbor was called O'Toole, and that is enough to sway the decision. Oh, also,
and you're Irish. You have a little Irish in you.
Oh yeah. And also, Station 11 is disqualified because you have read it already.
I have read it. I have read it twice, and I think I'll probably read it again. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll read We Don't Know Ourselves, Fintan O'Toole. And I think it's recent. 2022, I think, was an important book or a bestseller or something like that. I came across it in more than one list. Mm-hmm. Okay. Concludes.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for this one.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Catch you next time.
Like you were in a glass hotel. It seems like there was someone else as well. It seems like you were in your glass hotel. Seems like everything was going well.